Assiniboine Community College has reinstated its licensed practical nursing program in Neepawa due to the high demand from local residents. The program, which was reintroduced in early 2024, addresses a long-standing challenge faced by Neepawa applicants, long and often difficult commutes to Brandon. To support the new cohort of prospective students, ACC held an information session on June 23, 2025 in Neepawa. The session provided an opportunity for interested individuals to learn more about the program and ask questions directly to ACC representatives. The return of the LPN program to Neepawa marks a significant step in increasing access to healthcare education in rural Manitoba and ensuring local communities can meet growing healthcare demands.
Hi, my name is Angela Faulkner. I'm the academic chairperson for Assiniboine College Practical Nursing Programs for the rural rotating and portage sites. Today we're in Neepawa doing an info session because we have a practical nursing program starting here in January 2027.
And it's going to be starting like here in Neepawa?
Here in Neepawa, yep.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Paige. I'm the acting manager of recruitment at Assiniboine College. So we're super excited to have you here for an in-person information session because we're going to be having an intake of our practical nursing program right here in Neepawa, close to home for you guys here in 2027. So we're here to give kind of an overview of the program. I have Angela Faulkner here with me, who is our chair for our practical nursing program for our rural rotating sites, as well as our Portage location. And I have Amber Robity, who's one of our admissions specialists. So they're going to speak with you today about the program and then the admission requirements. So as you see from the program checklist that we've handed out, there are a few admission requirements to this program, and it is a competitive entry program. So we want to launch this now and support you through that application process and help you work your way through that checklist so that you're able to apply for this program and join us here in Neepawa. So I will pass it off to Angela to speak to the program overview.
All right, thanks, Paige. All right, so welcome everyone. It's great to see you all here. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the program, about our practical nursing program before we get into the admission requirements. So it is the practical nursing program, and LPNs are in high demand. It's a high demand career. There's many employment opportunities, not only here in Neepawa, which I know there are, but across Manitoba. LPNs are able to work in a lot of areas within the healthcare sector, so it's a really exciting career, and yeah, we're really happy to be able to bring it here to Neepawa again. In terms of the program itself, it's 2 years full-time. We don't have a part-time program available. There's both class time and then there's practicum time. In the class, you'll be learning theory, you'll be in the lab practicing skills, and that will prepare you to go on to the practicums. For the classes, they run from 8:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon. Like I said, it's a full-time program, and you need to be available during that time for your classes. For practicums, though, we will book those in like following the terms, and they would be in acute care centers, long-term care centers. They do follow facility time. So they start a bit early, sometimes as early as 7 in the morning. You need to be available. We do day shifts. Sometimes we book 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, evening shifts. For practicums, for the first 4 practicums, those are group practicums. And so you would be going with some of your classmates and a clinical instructor. And so that's the times that we generally have. We book for practicums. For the last practicum, it's the senior practicum. That's when you're buddied with a nurse that works in a facility. And so then you'd be working the same shifts as that nurse. So that could be all of those same shifts, like 8-hour days, 10, 12-hour days, evenings, probably not 10 hours, I don't think that's that common, but evenings, weekends, and nights. And so we tell people this because it's really important that you have made arrangements to be available during those times, and that you have transportation to and from those practicums, and also childcare and all of that sort of thing arranged for yourself. Okay. Okay, so within the program we have 3 different types of courses. So we have science courses, those are anatomy and physiology 1 and 2, and med mic. Those courses have a 60% pass rate. Our humanities courses like psychology, sociology, they have a 66% pass rate. And then for the rest of the courses, they're considered nursing courses, and they have a 70% pass rate. So some other things that make our program unique, we use virtual simulation within the classes. So those are clinical scenario type games that help you to navigate certain patient scenarios. Very, very good for helping students to consolidate their theory. And then we also have the nursing lab, like I was talking about. We have mannequins in the lab. We have low fidelity mannequins and high fidelity mannequins. What that means is they have varying degrees of realism, and our high fidelity mannequins are very realistic. We use them we can check vital signs on them, we can hear the heartbeat, those types of things. So it's really an important part of our program, that hands-on component. We also have all of the same equipment in our nursing lab that you would see in the hospital, so you're able to practice your skills and become competent before you're going into the clinical setting to work with patients. And I did mention about the strong clinical component that we do have in our program, so you get to apply the theory and skills that you're learning. Now, there are some attributes that are important for students to help aid in their success in the program. These are important. It's a heavy program. It's quite busy, it's jam-packed, and not only are these attributes important for you in your success in the program, but they're attributes that are important in your career as a nurse, and they align with CLPNM, or the College of Licensed Practical Nurses of Manitoba, with their professional expectations, as well as workplace expectations when you graduate. So those attributes are things like having a positive attitude, very important, being physically and mentally healthy. It is a robust 2-year program. Having strong study skills. For our students, they report that they are often spending 2 to 3 hours in the evening doing their reading, studying, working on papers and projects, also in the evenings, in the weekends as well. Communication skills are crucial. Strong interpersonal communication. Nurses work as part of an interprofessional team, so it's very important to be able to communicate. Problem-solving skills are important. Professionalism, being caring, being compassionate, having accountability, good time management skills. And like I said, these attributes not only align with the professional expectations of the workplace, but also the expectation of the licensing bodies for LPNs and student practical nurses, or SPNs, and the licensing body is CLPNM. We also recommend a valid driver's license and access to a vehicle, given the potential need to travel for some practicum placements. And there are immunization requirements as well, so that all your immunizations that are required have to be completed prior to clinical placements. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about CLPNM. I mentioned the College of Licensed Practical Nurses of Manitoba. That is the licensing body for practical nurses and for student practical nurses. So all of our PN students must be licensed with CLPNM, the regulatory body, while they're in the program. So for the duration of the program. Once you're finished the program, you'll have the entry-level competencies of the CLPNM, and then you can apply to work as a GPN or grad nurse, and you'd also be eligible then to write the licensure exam. So once you pass the licensure exam, you can, then that's when you can be licensed as a LPN, licensed practical nurse. Licensure is obtained through CLPNM, and once you're licensed as an LPN, then you can work to the full scope of practice as an LPN in various practice settings across Manitoba. So the last thing I'll just say is that there is a lot of potential opportunities once you receive your LPN certificate as well, or diploma, sorry. So you can work in dialysis, operating room, oncology management. There's opportunities for further certification. Some students go on to take their nursing foot care, and also some students go on to take their baccalaureate in nursing or their BN. So lots of opportunities out there. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to share with you about the program, and I'll pass it over to Amber to talk about admissions. Thank you.
So we have different locations where we offer the nursing program. You all have the checklist in front of you here at the top of it. We have all of our permanent locations and our rural locations. We offer in Brandon, Winnipeg, Portage, and Dauphin. Those are our permanent sites. But you all are here for the Neepawa one that we have upcoming, our rural site in January of 2027. So applications are open now. You can apply anytime. Seats are filled on a continuous basis, so we do recommend applying at your earliest available opportunity with a complete application. So a complete application would be all of the items on the checklist. One thing I did want to mention is that priority for our rural sites is given to those who live in the rural area within 100 kilometers of the site. So those of you who are within 100 kilometers of Neepawa or in the Prairie Mountain Health RHA would be given priority for a seat in the Neepawa intake over someone who was in the city, so Brandon or Winnipeg, or outside of the 100 kilometers. You can find information about all of the locations that we offer the program on our website, assiniboine.net/nursing, and clicking on the locations tab. But once again, you guys are here about the Neepawa intake. So regardless of the location that you were interested in applying for, this checklist applies. So all of these admission requirements in the box at the bottom, we're gonna go through kind of one by one and talk about each of them. So to start it off, academically, we are looking to see that someone has their complete grade 12 diploma or equivalent. When we say or equivalent, that means that a mature student high school diploma is considered equivalent, or 12 years or more of formal education from outside of Manitoba or outside of Canada. That is considered equivalent. So if you have 12 years of education from outside of Canada, that's what we're looking for. And a GED exam is not considered equivalent. So that's the only thing to be aware of. We also need to see, so the 3 courses that we've specified, English 40S, Math 40S, and Biology 40S, that's the grade 12 level requirement with 60% or better in each. So if your education was done outside of Manitoba or outside of Canada, you wouldn't have those exact 40S level classes, but we want to see the equivalent of that. So from your 12th year of formal education or later, we want to see English, Math, and Biology with a grade of 60% or better. So many of you might be from the Philippines specifically. We're looking for that 12th year of education. If you went through the 10-year high school education system, we're looking at your post-secondary. So your post-secondary education, we need to see English, Math, and Biology related subjects with a grade of 60% or better. If you have that, you don't need to upgrade here in Manitoba. If you don't have biology, or if you don't have a math, that's when you'll have to upgrade those specific subjects. Or maybe you don't have the 60%, you would need to upgrade those here. So if you have that, you don't have to take upgrading in Manitoba unless you want to, right? If you wanted to do that, you could. You are welcome to apply to the program while you're enrolled in upgrading. So if you provide us with your transcript that show that you have your grade 12 with your 60% in English, Math, and Biology, you can apply. Or if you're missing one of those classes but you're enrolled in upgrading, or say you're a regular high school student here and you're in your grade 12 year, you can apply. We just need a letter that shows that you're enrolled in your grade 12 year or in your upgrading and you're on track to meeting those admission requirements. Okay, that would be enough to apply and still be considered. Your deadline to successfully complete those courses would be November 15th of 2026. So 2 months before the program start date is when your deadline would be to complete those academic entrance requirement courses and still be considered. So you can still apply now, showing us your transcripts for what you have completed and a letter that shows that you're on track to complete whatever you're lacking in. So the next requirement is successfully completed preparation for nursing course. So preparation for nursing is a 22.5-hour self-directed online course that you would take through Assiniboine College, and this one needs to be complete before you can apply. So it also says here, or Math 0014, that one is Math for Nurses. The reason we've listed both is because Math for Nurses was previously the admission requirement of the nursing program. It is discontinued and was replaced with preparation for nursing.
So I had the Math for Nurses 2016. Is it still valid?
For now it is. So if you apply before June 30th of 2026, we're still recognizing Math for Nurses. Because it's been discontinued, we're no longer going to be accepting it after June 30th of 2026. At that point, all applicants will be required to have the new course preparation for nursing. Okay? Yeah.
So what if I apply, but I will go to school to 2027?
That's okay, yeah. So it's not necessarily the intake you're applying for, it's when you submit your application. Okay, so as long as you're applying before June 30th of 2026, we would still consider the Math for Nurses. For anyone who hasn't yet completed Math for Nurses or preparation for nursing is what you'll need to take because Math for Nurses is no longer being offered. So the difference is Math for Nurses was a 15-hour course, preparation for nursing is 22.5 hours. What we've added is content regarding what the nursing profession is, what the nursing course is, what the CLP&M regulations are, things like that. But still including that math component, preparing individuals with basic math skills required in the nursing course, specific to like the pharmacology class. So conversions, ratios, dosage calculations, and things like that. So, what was I saying? So it's a 22.5-hour self-directed online course. You need to achieve the mark of 95% or better to be successful in the class, and you are allowed 3 chances to achieve that with each course registration. You must complete it successfully before applying to the program. You're allowed 4 months to complete it, but it can be done more quickly because it is an online self-guided, self-paced class. So I've seen people complete it within a week or 2. If you do complete it ahead of the scheduled end date, you need to just contact the coordinator of the class so that they can enter your mark in the system. Because if you're submitting your application, I need to be able to verify that you've completed it and see it in the system that your grade is there. Okay, so that's the preparation for nursing course. On the checklist, obviously this is just a paper version, but if you find this on our website, on the nursing page, all of the links that are blue here, you can actually click on those. So it would take you right to the instant enrollment to register for that class. Okay, so next down from that is the English language proficiency requirement. So all applicants need to meet the English proficiency for admission into the college programs. The nursing program does have its own English proficiency requirement because it's a little bit higher level due to what CLP&M has directed us that we need to accept to match what they require for nurses in the province. So there are no countries that are considered ELP exempt for the nursing program. There's no test exempt country list. All applicants to the program need to provide either the IELTS academic test or a CELBAN test, unless you meet one of the waivers, which is based on education completed in Canada only. So if you have your high school diploma in Canada or 3 years of full-time post-secondary in Canada, at that point, the IELTS or CELBAN test requirement would be waived. So those are the only ways that it's waived. If not, you would be required to provide your IELTS or your CELBAN test, and the scores are listed on our website. The link is right there on the checklist. Okay, but if you were not educated in Canada, or if you're not a high school graduate in Canada or attended 3 years of full-time post-secondary, you'll need to provide the IELTS academic with the 7 overall. Reading and writing, 6.5 minimum. Listening and speaking, 7.0 minimum, and the overall score of 7. Or CELBAN with specific minimums in that as well. Listening 9, reading and speaking 8, and writing 7. Okay, but those are all listed on the website, so you don't need to memorize all of that. Just go to the website and it is listed there. It's more the waivers that you need to be aware of. Okay, so if your education was not done in Canada, the waivers will not apply to you. Okay, so next, the last ones listed here are the criminal record check, the child and adult abuse registry check. You will obtain those, the criminal record check you'll obtain from your local police or RCMP detachment. If you're here in Neepawa, it will be the RCMP. You need to ensure that you complete the vulnerable sector check, not just the criminal record check, but the vulnerable sector check, unless you're under 18. If you have not yet turned 18, that requirement will be waived at the time you submit your application and only required when you turn 18. The online application will actually have a box for you to check that says I'm under 18 and I'm aware that I'll provide it on my 18th birthday. If you do live outside of Manitoba, probably doesn't apply to you, but that would be obtained from whatever area you live in. The child and adult abuse registry check, you order it right through the online abuse registry, and the link is on the checklist. Now, even if you're under 18, you would need to order the abuse registry check. And the next requirement is your CPR certification. So your CPR would need to be done in person through a recognized provider like St. John's Ambulance, Canadian Red Cross, Heart and Stroke Foundation, and it needs to be the healthcare provider or basic life support level. So your card will specifically say on it HCP or BLS. If it doesn't say healthcare provider or basic life support. So level C is not considered equivalent, and first aid is not required or equivalent either. Lots of times first aid and CPR go together. You can certainly do both parts if you want, but we don't need the first aid part of it. So just make sure if you're Googling it and picking one there, don't do an online class. I've seen some that cost like $12 and it's done through some US company. That's not going to be what we're looking for. Make sure you do some in-person training. Now, the last line there is about the CASPER assessment. So Paige mentioned and Angela mentioned that it's a competitive entry program, competitive selection. We rank our students based on the CASPER assessment primarily. Rather than your GPA and things like that, or doing an interview individually with each student, we use the CASPER assessment as the selection tool. It's an online test that is 90 to 110 minutes in length, made up of 14 sections, and it's going to be questions related to the attributes that make up a good nurse that Angela mentioned. So people skills, non-academic attributes like ethics and things like that. You'll complete that assessment and CASPER will send us the results directly. So all you need to complete it is your Assiniboine student number, and that way they'll be able to, once you select Assiniboine as your institution, they'll send the results straight to us about 2 weeks after the assessment date. You can complete the CASPER before or after you're submitting your application to us. And once we have that, we would be able to rank you for a seat in the program. Once your application has been assessed as meeting all the admission requirements, so all of these checklist items, then we'd be able to advise you to complete the CASPER assessment if you hadn't already done so. But it would need to be done before you can be considered for a seat in the program. So if we have 25 spots in the nursing program here in Neepawa and we have 25 applicants, everybody would get in, everybody would be eligible for a seat. But if we had 50 applicants, that's when the CASPER would really come into play and we would determine who's most suitable for the program. And I think we'll pass things back over to Paige.
Thank you. So we know that attending school is a big transition, especially if you've maybe been out of school for a while, and we want to make sure you feel supported. So even though you're not at our main campus in Brandon or Portage or Winnipeg, there are still supports that you would have access to, including our student success advisors. So you will have a student success advisor for the program. They're there to keep you on track for success, help you make career plans. We also have financial advising, and I did bring our financial aid and awards postcards that you're welcome to grab at the end. But we do have a financial officer on site at our Brandon Victoria Avenue East campus that you could set up a Zoom call or a phone call with if you're not in Brandon. But they're there to help you find all the ways to fund your education, because there's nothing better than going to school when someone else pays for it. So there's lots of scholarship bursaries. We have about $1.2 million worth of bursaries available, or scholarships and bursaries available in the academic year. So there's lots of opportunities. There's opportunities with Manitoba financial aid, student loans, and we can help you kind of navigate some of that information. We have accessibility and disability services as well as a student of Assiniboine. So if you've ever had support for a physical, learning, mental health, vision, hearing need, let us know as soon as possible and we can make sure we set supports in place for you. And of course, we do still have academic related support. So we have what's called the learning curve. They are on campus, but they do set up virtual appointments. So you can set up a meeting with one of our learning curve staff. They can help you with mindfulness, time management, math and English support. We also have our library that you can connect with virtually that can support you citing your references for your research papers, things like that. So lots of student supports available even if you are here in Neepawa. So we have broken our application process down into 3 steps. Step 1, choose your program. So research the programs, check the admission requirements, which we have the sheet for you here. If you have questions about the admission requirements, you can connect with our admissions team. It's admissions@assiniboine.net, or you can connect with our recruitment team. So maybe you're not sure, maybe you have some questions, you want to just talk things through. That's exactly what we're here for. So recruit@assiniboine.net. The view books that you've received, our email is right on the back, so you can connect with us there, or you can give us a call. Our phone number is on the back as well. Step 2, apply to the program. So you're already on track for step 1. You're looking at practical nursing. You're here today learning about the program, which is fantastic. So if you're ready to apply, once you worked through some of that checklist, assiniboine.net/apply. It is an online application form. So you would create an account. You should have a student number from when you applied for and took preparation for nurses. You'll want to put in your student number so that we know that we're dealing with the same person. You're gonna work through the online app, putting in your personal information. It will give you a checklist of all those admission requirements and a space for you to upload them. And then you'll pay your online application fee, which is $95. So you can pay right in your application. And then this is a competitive entry program. So that's where we'll be looking for those additional. I think Amber mentioned if you're under 18 and you don't have a criminal record check, there's actually a checkbox that you can select saying I'm under 18. Or if you are from outside Manitoba for other things which won't apply to you guys, there's checkboxes that will wave you through certain parts of the application. So step 3, sit back, relax, and wait to hear from us. As long as you have submitted a complete application, we process applications once they're complete in order that they are received. So because this is competitive entry, applicants are assessed and successful applicants will be notified by email. So you'll receive your letter of acceptance and you'll be asked to pay your tuition deposit of $400. This is not an additional cost, it's part of your total tuition, but it's to confirm, yes, I'm taking the seat and we save that seat in the program for you. And that's really it. So before we get into the Q&A, We're lucky to have some people joining us here today. So we have a representative from Employment and Training Services that has a little bit of information to share for you as well.
Okay. Stand up here. Hi, my name's Andrea. I'm a career development consultant at Employment and Training Services, or Training and Employment Services. We offer up to $10,000 right now towards your training. It would be year 1 and year 2 of your training program. We can't get involved though with your training until you are accepted into the program. And usually it would just be 3 to 4 months before you might start, or even 2 months before you might start. We'll set up a year 1 and year 2 plan. If you are working, we do recommend that you would go on EI for the first year for your support. So often, if you're working as a healthcare aide, they'll put a pin in your work and they'll give you a release, and then you can return to wherever you're working. So usually first year you don't get any funding. It would be on EI. We would give you what they call a direct to quit. And then year 2 is when the $10,000 would come in, usually as a living allowance. So there would be 2 contracts, okay? You do have to come and see us when you're starting the program. Before it used to be if you didn't come within the first month of starting the program, you were not eligible for any funding. So it's very important to come in. Excuse me, you would fill out an intake. I'm a CDC. You would actually go to Westlake with our 2 ladies here, Martha and Fleur-Elise. You would go through them first, and they would refer you to Brandon. We have 9th Street and West Brand location that you would come and see us. We always recommend that you apply for a student loan because you're going to need some extra funds. Again, our funds are very restricted. It is based on eligibility, so it's needs versus wants. So if you are married and your spouse makes a high income, you might not qualify for the funding. We look at your household income. So that's if you're married or not, or kids, that kind of thing. It's not if you're living with mom and dad and that kind of thing, okay? So yeah, there's eligibility criteria. So again, you would just come in and have a review. You do have to be able to be licensed, so if you have a criminal record check, you have to make sure that you can be licensed and registered for us to fund you, because I guess sometimes that can happen. We ask for the adult and child abuse checks, criminal record check. Sometimes you have to submit a T4 based on your income to see if you do need the funding or not. And what else have I got? Again, it's $10,000. It was 17. We're hoping next year it goes up. So again, you wouldn't be coming to us till our next fiscal year once you get that acceptance letter. We can't do anything without the acceptance letter. Okay? And I think that's it. Oh, EIA. I did want to say if you are on EIA, you could possibly receive funding for some of these prerequisites. But otherwise we would not assist in any funding for prerequisites. So only those on EIA. Okay. All right. That was it.
Awesome. Thank you. We do also have some representatives from Prairie Mountain Health here tonight that I'll share a couple words with you as well. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Savannah Robertson and I work for Prairie Mountain Health as a recruitment coordinator. So just here to discuss some opportunities that are available as well. We do have funding options, so if any of you are employed with us already, you could be in housekeeping, dietary activities, administration, maintenance, really any departments. You can apply for an educational loan with us as well. So I believe it's about up to $2,000 per year for a maximum of 4 years. So I know it isn't a whole lot for a year, but you could apply for some of those pre-courses that they were talking about. So if you're maybe not enrolled in the program yet, but you can start taking some of those courses, or you do start incurring some costs for some education, you can apply for funding with us. It is to be paid back, however, there's no interest. So it's interest-free, and you do not have to pay it back until you've completed your program. So it's kind of something nice that you can apply for. And there are many grants available for new nurses as well. There's many, I do have a handout here, I'll leave a stack on the table for you, but there's a bunch of different grants, some are provincial, that you can apply for when you do get your LPN license. And those are not to be paid back. So they're a grant, you get to keep it. There's anywhere from like $4,000 to around $8,000 that you can get, because some of the grants can be combined together. So I'll leave that here for you. And they could potentially change, because you guys wouldn't be going into the program until 2027, but they're always changing, so I'm sure there still will be grants available. Just keep an eye on this website here. There's a link. Lots of information on there about what is available. There is even incentives for healthcare aides too. So if any of you do work as healthcare aides, or you are going to apply as a healthcare aide, there could be some funding available for you as well. And I'm not sure, I guess kind of leads into the questions, but if anybody does have any questions about the facilities here in Neepawa, we do have one of the managers present as well, so you could talk about that, but fantastic for the questions.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think we'll open it up for Q&A. I'm sure there's a few questions in the room, so feel free to raise your hand. Don't be shy, I'm sure somebody is.
I can only pick one course in math, right? Like if I pick math essential, for example, is that pass to the requirements? If I only pick math essential, not the other math like critical or applied.
Yeah, you just need one of the maths. So if you take in consumer math, like essentials math, that counts as your math requirement as long as you have the 60% and it's in your 12th year or later of study. If you took pre-calculus, you don't also need consumer. You just need one or the other for the math. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks.
Perfect.
So you're taking the nursing school.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, yeah. So yeah, if you're taking essentials math now, then you don't also need pre-cal or applied.
Okay. So, for example, the probably English language proficiency. So, if we enroll for the adult learning center, like, is it like, are we exempted to take the IELTS? Because it's like, because you're going to enroll for that.
So if you're enrolled in an adult learning center and you're going to be graduating from that adult learning center, then that would waive the need to do an IELTS test for English language proficiency. If you're only enrolling at the Adult Learning Center to upgrade 1 or 2 or 3 classes, but you're not going to graduate from that Adult Learning Center with your mature diploma, then you would still need to do an IELTS. Okay, so the important part of that English proficiency waiver is if you're a graduate of a Canadian high school or Adult Learning Center.
So, like, a year, like you need to study all the subjects, or?
Well, it depends. So you would have to meet with an adult learning center and speak to them, a counselor there, to find out how long it would take. But for us and for the waiver of the English proficiency testing, we're just worried about whether or not someone is a graduate of a Canadian high school or not. And if you graduate from an adult learning center, you would need 70% in your English 40S class. So I know at the top, for the academics, it says you need 60% in your English, math, and biology. For the English proficiency waiver to be applicable though, if you graduate from an adult learning center, you need to have 70% in your English 40S. So not just taking an English 40S class and getting 70, but also being a graduate of an adult learning center. All right, so if you go onto the website and you read the waivers, it does say that. But if that applies to you, if you're going to be graduating from an adult learning center here, just make sure also that you achieved 70% in your English 40S class. And then you won't need to do an IELTS as well.
And you mentioned that if we wanted to take advanced subject, like, can we do it even though we don't submit the application for LPN? Like, while we're working, can we for example, the A&P. Then we take A&P while we're working, but we're not yet on the list for.
Yes, yeah. There are some classes that are available at Assiniboine in advance of the nursing program through our continuing studies. Those classes are like anatomy and physiology, nutrition, maybe microbiology. There's a handful of classes. Lots of people will take anatomy and physiology 1 and 2.
And what
They're
are
heavier
the
courses.
requirements for that?
There's no requirements for those because they're kind of general interest classes that people can take. You just register for them. So you don't apply to us. We don't check any admissions for that. But just keep in mind that it doesn't guarantee that you have that you meet requirements so that you have a place in the nursing program, right? Because we're not checking any admission requirements for anyone. Okay. They do cost more than they would if you're in the nursing program. So that's something to keep in mind as well, because they're not government funded when you take them in advance. Also, if you're taking classes in advance of the program, it means that you wouldn't be taking them in the nursing program. So if you take too many classes, it can affect if you're applying for student aid and loans, because you may not be considered a full-time student anymore if you've taken too many classes in advance. So that's something to keep in mind as well. If it was just anatomy and physiology 1 and 2, that's not too many classes. You would still be considered full-time. But if you take much more than that, it could affect things. Yeah.
And what if you took Healthcare Aid Challenge in an ACC before, and you took some of the subject? Is it valid for any subjects in LPN?
It is not. So right now, there are no credits that transfer from healthcare aid into the nursing program. Over here.
For the high school one, is there only do I only need 40 years or do I need the 30 years to that one?
Yeah,
So I
you
can
don't
only
need
take
the
the 40 years, right?
Yeah, so you could just jump right to the 40S classes, yeah.
And where could I take the?
I think there is an adult learning center in Neepawa or Minnedosa area. Sorry?
There is in Minnedosa.
In Minnedosa, yeah. That would be the closest one to you. But at Assiniboine, we have our adult learning center there as well. And starting in September, they're going to have online classes. So if you're not wanting to go in person, that could be an option for you also.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was going to ask how many slots are available in the Brandon campus?
Brandon campus, we have 35 seats per intake, and we have intakes every September and January. So every year.
This September?
This September is full already, but there is space in January.
Is still available in Virden because I live in Habiota. So it's closer for me to go to Virden, but I don't know if there's still.
No, so Virden was one of our rural rotating sites previously, with a previous intake. So not upcoming. Yeah, probably Brandon or Neepawa would be closest for you. Yeah, so all of our sites are listed at the top here, the top of the checklist. Those are the only ones we have upcoming.
What if I took some nursing courses at U of M? If I get accepted to the program, can I still apply for the nursing courses from U of M and transfer credit to ACC?
Yeah, so credits are transferable if the courses are equivalent and completed within the last 5 years from institutions within Manitoba.
It's a good time I can still apply.
Well, but if you were starting the program in Neepawa in 2027, then they would be more than 5 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so for anybody who does have credits within Manitoba, or if you're looking to take classes, from Assiniboine even while you're waiting, like anatomy and physiology that we talked about, once you are accepted to a specific start date, say January 2027 in Neepawa, once you have your acceptance letter, you could do an application for credit transfer. To make sure that we assess your credits to give you credit for the classes within the nursing program in the Neepawa intake, right? Because we don't ever just want to assume that you want credit for them, that you don't want to take them within that program. So that's how we would do the evaluation to give you that credit, so you wouldn't have to take the class again within the program.
Your questions?
You have mentioned a while regarding the immunization and vaccinations. Do we need to submit it along with the application?
Not with your application. So about a few months before the program starts, you'll get an email that tells you about the immunizations and other things that you need to do for the practicum coordinators. So that would happen then, a few months before the program starts. There is an FAQ on the website, so if you go to the nursing page, assiniboine.net/nursing, scroll down to the frequently asked questions, there's one about immunizations there, so if you wanted to see the form, excuse me, if you wanted to see the form, it is there. And you would just take that paperwork to your family doctor or public health and get it completed and get any boosters that you need at that time.
One more question about the CPR or the certificate. So like I took CPR and ACC last year. Does that count or no?
It could, yeah. So you would have got a card when you completed that, and it would say what level it was, and it would say the expiry date on it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
sometimes they're good for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, so it just depends. Yeah, so take a look at that card to see what level. Yeah, it just needs to be valid at the time that you apply. Not necessarily valid right till your start date, right? Because when I'm assessing your application, I just want to see that you have the right one. You're going to have to make sure that it stays valid throughout the course of the program to go on practicums and things like that. So for my purposes, for admissions, I just want to see that you have the right one. The coordinators are going to make sure that you have it throughout the duration. So.
What is the end date then of the program? So you start January 2027, you do like accelerated?
Yeah, so probably it'll be August of 2029 is usually how it works for a January intake, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You still do get a break.
Yeah, you would get about a 6-week break in the summer. Yeah, the way January intake works, you do term 1 and 2, and then you get a 6-week break in the summer, come back and do term 3, 4, and 5 straight through. You end up doing your senior practicums through that second summer.
Pending any curriculum changes.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no more questions for the larger group, we can leave it there. You guys should have our contact information on the back of the view book, the application checklist. For those of you who I missed for the registration, if you don't mind coming to see me before you leave so I can just check off or get your email from you, feel free to grab our postcards for financial aid awards as well as our other information sessions. And we'll stick around and answer a few questions. Remind me, don't do pre-assessment of documents, so we won't look at your transcripts here, but if you do have other questions that you didn't want to ask in front of the big group, we will be here for them all. Thank you guys for coming out, and I hope to see your application coming through the door soon.